impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico. This is according to people familiar, although I do think this is why. Help.
You can't keep up. You can't keep up.
No, it's like we put together something in our show script and then it's like, wait a minute, all right, is this the latest? That's why we reach out to Nathan. Nathan Dean is a Bloomberg Intelligence Senior Policy Analyst joining us here on Bloomberg Business Week. He joins us from Washington, D.C. So, Nathan, is it a done deal, this delay?
You know, I don't think anything's a done deal in Washington these days. But I mean, what we're telling our clients is that, you know, obviously, you know, the big three automakers were at the White House yesterday, and we saw the announcement today that there could potentially, you know, this 1 month extension to the automobile sector. But in terms of looking forward to what's coming next, I would just say that, you know, we're anticipating a response from Mexico this weekend, potentially about any reciprocal or retaliatory tariffs. And so that could potentially rise the rhetoric going into next week. We saw the negotiations with Prime Minister Trudeau today. President Trump tweeted out later, you know, that it really wasn't enough to change the parameter of the current tariffs. So I think these tariffs are going to stick around for a while. I mean, there's always more exceptions, but the big date coming forward is April 2nd, when President Trump says these reciprocal tariffs are going to go into fruition. And if President Trump is taking the view that you tax us, we tax you, you know, investors need to prepare for a full-fledged April 2nd reciprocal tariff.
Nathan, we've reported that the exemption is intended to give automakers time to come up with plans to move more investment and production to the U.S. If you're an automaker, you can't do that in a month.
Yeah, you know, that's the challenge here. I mean, even when President Trump says, look, I want you to invest in the United States or build a plant in the United States, you know, with one of the European manufacturers said, look, it's going to take us 3 to 5 years just to identify where in the United States we want to go. So, you know, that's what really we're going to have to pay attention to President Trump's statements over the next few weeks, because, look, I don't think that any automaker is going to be able to say, yep, within 30 days, we're going to transfer everything from Mexico to the United States or vice, you know, from Canada. And so I think President Trump needs to give another out. If he doesn't, then, you know, these tariffs could stick around. But what we think is going to happen is that President Trump really won't react to these tariffs in terms of, unless there's two things that happens. One is we have to see a dramatic change in the stock market. You know, President Trump likes to pay attention to the Dow Jones and to the S&P, but he also pays attention to the sticker shock. And so if we see consumer actions changing on sticker shock prices, and Target and Best Buy have already said that price increases could come as soon as this weekend, you know, I potentially could see President Trump in, say, a month or two begin to dial down some of the tariffs, but we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, we certainly didn't hear a lot about prices coming down or specific prices coming down last night when President Trump addressed Congress. Having said that, the back and forth that we see out of the White House, is this the art of the deal playbook by President Trump? He likes to make deals. We've talked a lot. Many have said, you know, he's a transactional president. But I'm just curious how you guys who cover the ins and outs of it, whether or not there's kind of a theory of these actions.
You know, I go back to January 20th with all these flurry of executive orders. President Trump just even last night said, look, I've done more executive orders in the first 40 days. And it really is a playbook of shock and awe. And this is what they wanted to do, is they wanted to shock and awe the United States in terms of their executive orders. And I think that also plays to tariffs. Go back to Canada and Mexico. President Trump says 25% tariff going to happen. Oh, wait, we're going to do a 30-day pause. 25% tariff comes in. Oh, wait, we're going to do an exemption for the automakers. So I think what will happen is that President Trump will continue to make these statements. And in the April 2nd scenario, those tariffs most likely will go forward. But then afterwards, you're going to see, after the shock, you're going to see potentially people say, look, you know, exemption this, exemption that. And President Trump will be up for the negotiations. So if you give something to President Trump that he likes, you'll get something out of it. So this is what we saw with the automobile makers. It could be technology coming up next. You know, he mentioned Apple Cook last night. You know, potentially Apple will be at the White House talking to him.
Yeah, we know that Apple and Tim Cook did a very good job in the first Trump administration navigating the choppy seas of tariffs. Nathan, we talk about Canada and Mexico tariffs sort of being monolithic here, but should we look at them separately in terms of how receptive each country's leader is in responding to Trump's demands?
You know, that's an excellent point, because, you know, I think a lot of the news cycle right now is just focused on Washington and Ottawa. I mean, President Trump said, you know, I had a call with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and he just said, quote, Governor Trudeau, you know, the 51st state. But the response from Mexico City has been a little bit more subdued. It's more similar to what we're seeing coming out of China. President of Mexico has said that, she's not going to put retaliatory tariffs immediately, but rather she's going to conduct additional negotiations. Now, I think we're going to hear that plan. Bloomberg News is reporting we may hear the plan coming out of Mexico City later this week, but it's still that try and negotiation with the United States because the Mexican economy, as well as Canada, is so important and so relies upon the United States. So it's almost a different playbook in terms of, are you going to confront him in the area of public perception, or are you going to try and work behind the scenes? I think we'll find out by the end of this weekend if the Mexico City strategy works.
Well, it does sound like a lot of leaders, as well as a lot of CEOs, are working a lot behind the scenes when it comes to all of this tariff conversations. Nathan, thank you so much, getting us up to speed on the latest when it comes to U.S. tariffs. Nathan Dean, he's Bloomberg Intelligence Senior Policy Analyst out there in D.C. Hey, everybody.